Blake, how often do you suffer from foot-in-mouth disease?
Toby, the feet suffering I endure comes from you never wearing shoes around me.
Welcome to the Church Gear Podcast, where we pull the tech out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, a man who is on strike at Church Gear to require Toby to wear the proper foot gear of adults during work hours. And I'm here with my co-host, who you can smell his feet from a mile away, Toby Walters.
I'd like to interject that I am wearing shoes right now.
And your sandals are still right next to you.
Yes. So
I'm smelling them.
As soon as I stop this, professional nonsense that we like to refer to the Church Gear Podcast as, I'm going to put my flip-flops back on.
But even though they're off camera, so which is good for everyone but me still suffers. I smell it.
Oh, you don't think I don't smell you, Blake?
Well, listen, Toby,
We're
that's
in tight quarters here.
My smell is at least courtesy to be bad enough that I've burnt those nose hairs out of your nose. You can't even smell anymore, but I can still smell your odor.
All right, let's get to this opening story because it's a doozy, Blake. I did a bad thing.
Oh, no.
I know. This is my confession.
Like a really bad... Well, that's called a ChurchTech Confessional, Toby, which
I'm
are
not
in
a church
season.
Tech. I'm not a church tech, so this is just Toby Confessional. So last Sunday, I'm sitting at a stoplight with my wife, and we're just waiting at the stoplight, and then I look in my side view mirror, and there's a large black truck behind me, and the guy in the driver's seat, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my next door neighbor.
Did you throw a Molotov cocktail at him again?
No. But what I did is I rolled down my window and I gave him a friendly gesture.
So was it very friendly?
A friendly gesture. And so I could tell he kind of had a confused look on his face. I was like, maybe he doesn't recognize my car.
That's way better.
And so as we pull away at stoplight turns green, I pull forward and then I can see the grill of his truck in my rearview mirror and it says Ford. And I'm like, uh-oh, my next door neighbor drives a Ram. So I'm starting to, just get a little nervous. And this truck then, revs and weaves through the traffic to come alongside me. And I just keep my eyes straight ahead. I know what's happening, but my wife doesn't know anything yet. And she looks over and she says, why is that guy next to us so pissed?
Toby, your wife describes being married to you as literally being on a roller coaster and you're ticking up the hill and you never know when it's going to drop. And you just dropped it. So then what's he do when he gets up close to you? Is that how you have bullet holes in your car?
He pulls in front of us and I notice, and I'm not exaggerating, his license plate is don't care. I have upset the wrong angry man. He's in a big black truck and his license plate says don't care. That is the worst person to give a friendly gesture to out the window accidentally.
The only way this gets any worse is if you have those, I will not say, things hanging off the back of the truck that all these people do.
He did not have those,
That's great.
D's whatevers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we get to the next stoplight. He pulls up next to me, rolls down his window, and I'm like, at this point, I've got to beg for forgiveness.
Yep.
And so he rolls down his window. He's like, dude, what the? He just starts going off. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my neighbor. He has the same truck. And then the dude pauses. He looks at me. He's like, well, all right then. I love it. And then he drives away and I drive home. And I tell my next door neighbor this story and he thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever heard. So fast forward a couple hours later, my wife Shell and I are out on a walk in the neighborhood and we see him actually come into the neighborhood. And he just
gives me a friendly gesture,
then turns in the next cul-de-sac, comes back, gives me the friendly gesture, turns around at the front of the neighborhood, gives me the friendly gesture. It was hilarious. His wife gave me the friendly gesture. It was really funny.
Man, everyone's waving.
Everyone's waving. So I know, just smiling and waving.
Well, speaking of someone who wants to smile and wave his way off of this podcast after that intro, Steve Kaminsky, the channel manager at Resi Media. Welcome, man. Welcome to the pod, Steve.
Hey, thank y'all for having me. I have a story that jives with that one.
Yes,
Toby,
please.
If you want to hear it. So friendly gestures in cars. We're coming back. My wife is pregnant with our first child. We're living in Chicago at the time, my first full-time church job. And we get cut off by this car, beat up Honda something or another, comes blowing past us. And my wife is irate. She's like, I'm pregnant. How dare they go by us? Like, get around them. Like, they're being crazy. So we go up and pull up when it's a 2-lane road. I go past. My wife turns over, getting ready to give this person a piece of their mind. We pull up, and I kid you not, there's a nun, full attire, driving this car that had cut us off. And before my wife could do whatever she was going to do in the moment, she just looks back over me and says, "Go." So in the spirit of friendly gestures, it happens to us all.
Blake, I think this is genius. Let's dress up like nuns anytime we're out on the road, and then we could just do anything and nobody's going to be upset about it.
If I was in a nun suit, I would sweat through that thing and combust within 15 seconds. People on the road are crazy. I had a dude flick me off because I just looked back in my rearview mirror. He then is honking his horn at everybody. So I'm like, okay, you're certified crazy. Well, then he speeds in front of me. And after about another mile, he stops to let someone else out that he didn't have to let out. I was like, what is this guy's deal? Is he crazy or not?
I think we all turn up our crazy on the road by like 50%.
My wife says people in Nashville drive like they have no regard for their life. Like they wake up and they're like, if I die, I die. And they just kind of go.
I mean, I would suggest she go drive around like LA or Miami, other cities. Like Nashville is about as mellow as it gets for a full-size metropolitan city.
I'll add one more thing. The chief of staff at Church Gear had to sit on the grand jury for like 4 months. And he comes back and tells us, guys, one of the things I've learned is people are drunk on I-65 getting a DUI every time of day. 5 a.m., DUI. 12 p.m., DUI. It doesn't matter. He's like, if you're on 65, just be careful. It's like, oh my gosh.
Well, speaking of DU eyes of...
Toby, that was a bad transition.
I know. I was trying to... my brain without ChatGPT engaged in this podcast, it just doesn't work anymore. So, Steve, welcome to what you're going to come to find out pretty quickly is just a public shaming. But, as we get started, can you give us a background in your... or a snapshot of your background in church production, how you got your start, and what led to your role today?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a large portion of us, it started in the church. I remember volunteering with my dad. My dad's responsible for all of this, I guess you could say, with running a dry ice machine because you got to drop huge chunks of stuff that would burn your hands in a giant vat of water and watch it billow and Jesus rise into the catwalk at the church and kind of fell in love with it and have been doing it ever since to the point where I went on the road as a touring audio engineer for a company that primarily did punk rock and Warped Tours and Taste of Chaos for a number of years. Told myself I was going to do that until I was either married or 30. Found my wife long before I hit 30. Found a job at a church in Chicago and then just kept loving on people, growing and being able to do church tech, leading people, discipling folks. Moved to a church here in Austin, Texas. Was blessed to work with some really amazing integrators. And then finally, a good friend of mine reached out and said, "Hey, we'd love to have you join the team at Resi." At that point, I'm a video guy because too many years in punk rock and the ears don't work anymore. So there's no audio job or nobody in the audio world that's going to hire me at this point. So jump into streaming, and man, I've loved getting to work with Resi. I'm blessed to be able to work with some of the biggest and best integrators out there and really help be creative with churches and how they want to get what they're doing streamed out to the world.
All right, Blake, quick interjection. Name a band that would have been on Warped Tour.
Fall Out Boy.
Probably.
No, they're not Christian.
Warped Tour is not a Christian tour.
Okay. Smashing Pumpkins?
Probably not.
I should have stopped while I was ahead.
They'd be like Lollapalooza, but...
What church were you at up in Chicago?
So it was a little church right near the airport called South Park Church. Interestingly enough, they love to claim that Willow Creek was birthed out of South Park Church.
Okay.
Which is kind of fun. So when we went to go clean out the closet, we found all these old slide machines that were linked together so they could do like a triple wide slideshow synced display. It looked very Frankenstein, but it was kind of cool to see some of the old gear that birthed, one of the best creative churches that's been out there.
And was South Park Church or South Park the cartoon series, begun first?
When I went off the road and the guys found out where I was going, I'd never heard the end of Cartman jokes. I probably could still find the texts.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about a thing we all have feelings on. So COVID hit 2020, and every church on the planet had to figure out, okay, we got a live stream now because people can't come in person. A lot of churches, and we don't really talk about this often, a lot of churches like, we had been live streaming for years. But, since that moment, it's like the world within the church kind of divided as far as like, oh, now I can watch from home and now I do all the time. And other people are saying, no, that's not church. You got to come in person. And other people are like, calm down, guys. But, Steve, let's talk about the debate and how you guys at Resi, kind of hold that balance. And Blake, do you have an opinion on this?
I think it's funny that 14th century was like Calvinism versus Arminianism, and modern day is like, I want to sit at home in my pajamas. Yep. And other people are like, you can't do that. We're so advanced.
Hey, we always have to find something controversial. I mean, 10 years ago, it was worship wars, right?
Yes.
Like, hey, are we doing hymns and organs, or are we doing, rock and roll bands?
Y'all made enough jokes about worship wars now through the history of this podcast. That should be a series at some point. I want to actually understand the worship wars.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So I have to ask, did you not live through the worship wars, Blake?
Steve,
No.
I could live through a battle right in front of me and I wouldn't recall it, man.
Blake doesn't, he woke up into history in 2014.
Yes. And now that I'm stuck at church gear until I retire, I really don't know about anything around the world around me. So I'm here to learn from you, Steve. What say you on this battle of streaming or not live streaming?
I love the question because I think it's yes, no, maybe across the board. We had to live stream, in COVID. I mean, that was non-negotiable. And whether you just do YouTube, church online platform, Facebook, Vimeo, whatever you were doing, you had to do it because you wanted to continue loving on the folks that were part of your congregation, but you also didn't want to get arrested for inviting people into your building. So we had to do it. Now that we're post, you're right. Everybody's like, do we keep doing it? Does it prevent people from being community? And I think there's a number of ways to think about it. I think the first way to think about it is the front door approach. What we find with a lot of churches that we ping is that the first time someone's going to engage with your church in any way, shape, or form is they're going to go to your social media, right? Now, whether it pops up in their Reels or YouTube or TikTok or wherever you're posting it, I don't TikTok, so I have no opinion on that. You're going to see a clip, and that's going to draw your attention, right? Well, then people are going to say, I wonder what these people are about. And so the next thing they're going to do is they're going to go click on whatever link you have posted in your profile, and they're going to jump over to your webpage. From there, they may say, you know what? These people don't look weird. I think Christians are weird, but these people kind of seem cool. So the next thing they're going to do is they're going to try and figure out, let me watch a message because I don't want to step foot in there if they actually turn out to be weird once I watch it. Whether that message is recorded and posted on demand, which is technically streaming, or live streamed in the moment, that is going to be your first touch point with someone who is seeking Jesus or someone who's looking for a new church. And that's going to be the first time they actually say, hey, do I want to attend? Do I even risk going in person? So from that point, that person then may make a habit of watching. And at some point, they're going to be invited, hopefully, hey, come in person, come check us out. That person will walk through that door. Now you have the opportunity, especially if there's someone who's not a follower of Jesus, they can say, hey, I actually want to know more. So now you've turned doom scrolling on your phone into life change, which turns into discipleship, which ultimately comes down to that person probably sending an Insta story or a reel or a TikTok to a friend of theirs who's going through a hard time and saying, hey, come check this church out. It's really made a difference on my life. And so now you've created this kind of circular continuum-y thing of discipleship and life change and outreach. And it's really, we find it really cool from a front door purpose. So to kind of answer that part of the question, I do think it's important for churches, maybe not every church, but most churches out there to consider that people aren't going to walk through the door of a church just to walk through the door of the church. Needs to be something attractional there that they want to engage with. And that's almost always now going to be live stream.
Okay, so
the other part of that.
Hold on, Steve. Let's talk about this front door concept. So I totally agree. You're scrolling, and then the algorithms just drop you hints of like, hey, you might like this. Now, in my experience,
the algorithms are wild. It's like, here's a video of a cat.
Yeah.
Here's an OnlyFans model. Here's a church clip. What do you like?
Yeah.
I mean, the algorithm is crazy.
But, chances are I'm going to see like Elevation Worship or, Belonging Co. or Gateway, something that's huge. And I don't know how algorithms work. I've never fed like a local small church. And also, how do you compete with the front door of Elevation when you're just a small local church?
Man, that's a great question. And I think that comes down to different people are going to be attracted to different types of community. There are people out there that are going to love going to an Elevation or a Transformation or Bethel or pick your church. They're going to love engaging with that because it's big production, it's big lights, it's all of the things that we as a society consume, right? But if you start consuming that, the algorithm is going to then change and say, hey, here's some other things that you would like to follow. So, and that may not be this highly produced spectacle. It could be a snippet of a pastor on stage giving an emotional presentation of the gospel. And that could be the thing that they grab. Mm-hmm. So I intentionally don't follow our church's Instagram because I'm curious if things are going to pop up there. And sure enough, they jump in there along with some of the other worship content, which I never click worship content, Blake. So I don't know how I see all of it, but I intentionally don't click it because I want to see what's going to pop up. So it's really cool to see that those algorithms will filter in other things if you utilize them. I think part of it is churches just trying to utilize it more as a way to invite people in.
I will tell you as a professional social media person that yes, you can train the algorithm to give you certain types of content. Like mine knows to give me Taylor Swift and cats. It knows. At the same time, it's still going to send you a lot of random stuff because it's constantly fishing to see if it can add any other types of content to your profile. I really like this as a continuation, Toby, of your point of like, what if we, film a really nice service and we put that on the homepage of the website? My marketing heart loves what Steve has said. Guys, go one step even further. Your reels, that's going to be the thing that gets them to that homepage of your website. So I'm almost hearing Steve and I'm thinking, okay, 2 of your top 3 pinned reels could be that service you've talked about, Toby. And then bada boom, you got the line right to service. Yeah,
I'm just thinking again, we're talking about this concept of the front door, and I totally am on board and agreed. But there are certain churches that do it amazing with production, with worship, with teaching. And if you've got a small local church, like you've got to figure out, what are we great at? Is it our community? Is it our sharing of the gospel? Is whatever it is? And then get a great example of that great thing you do and then push that rather than, oh, okay, Elevation live streams on Sunday morning and that gets traction. Let's do that with ours. It's not going to translate the same way. How do you encourage churches, in that regard? Like, you're not these big giant productions over here. How can you show the world what you are great at?
Yeah, I think that's actually probably the more fun part of it because we all equate those big giant productions with having giant budgets. I think I love to tell churches that are in that space, be real to who you are as a community and as a church. Like, you don't have to be transformation for people to click like on your social media or join your live stream. If you're who you are and you're holding true to who you are, people are going to see that authenticity, which is huge in society right now, and they're going to want to engage with that piece of content. And that may be, and we'll talk about the flip side of the front door here in a few minutes, I think, that's going to be a big piece of people consuming that, because there are people out there who are burnt out on the big production. They don't like that. So they're going to be looking for something more intimate, more personal, and I don't want to use the word authentic because I think what those other churches are doing are authentic, but that person would define that. So I am not saying, Steve Kaminsky is not saying that what the mega church is doing is inauthentic, but people want that more impersonal piece.
Mm-hmm. I'd also just throw out there that if what you're doing is trying too hard, even just a little bit too hard or not normal, then people are going to get to your church and be like, oh, this wasn't what I saw. Since none of it is that good or bad, it's just personal preference. Show who you are, so you attract the people who would all automatically like that when they get there.
Yeah. It's funny.
And there's also nothing, well, let me throw in one more thing. Sorry to cut you off, Toby. Don't stream what you want to stream of your message. If what you're known for is teaching and you don't want to stream the worship portion, click go live when the message starts.
Yeah.
It fires up and you just get the message out there and let people engage with that portion of it. And I think you're going to find a lot of people are coming to the stream for the message portion, maybe not often to engage with the worship portion.
Yeah, I am fully on board with that truth that it's 90% of your work is trying to stream the worship and making it great. And just streaming the message is so easy. And that's what 90% of your audience is waiting for anyways. Maybe even a strategy is, hey, we have our full band worship before the message. Then we click go on the message. It goes live. And then after the message, we have one response song with just our worship leader on an acoustic guitar. Again, that's easy to capture. That's easy to translate to an online audience but if you don't have a great band, a great live mix, it's really hard to make your live Sunday morning worship translate into streaming and have somebody at home engage with it. I mean, I'll even, throw myself under the bus. If I'm watching any of these amazing productions online, I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. I'm not engaged. I can't engage with worship through a screen. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I struggle with that same thing when I watch the worship portion. I think the part of me that I engage with it is when I look over at my teenage daughter and she's singing. I'm like, okay, that's more of a me thing in engaging with that. So she challenges me and helps me with that a lot, which is pretty cool.
Steve, let's think about church plant specifically. If you are launching a new church, and I forget, somebody had, you put two words together and a mashup, whatever, but like in person and streaming, launch both at the same time. Do you have an opinion on that? Is it, pros, cons? And again, are we just talking about the same idea? You want to put your best foot forward. You got to do it digitally to get people in the door.
He's going to say yes, no, maybe again.
Yeah.
Actually, I think a church plant is one of the coolest times to stream because you can set the stage for what you're doing. Also, as a church plant, a couple things are probably going on. You're probably mobile. Very few church plants are starting by building, which means you're going to be in a school, a movie theater, an office building. And what happens often, and it happened to one of our campuses this summer, is you lose your facility over summer due to construction or a couple weeks of cleaning in the school cafeteria. Now, either you can find a different place or you can set up in a home and say, hey guys, we're going to worship online these 2 weeks. Please join us. And now you've got a self-contained system where you can stream. The beautiful part about doing it with the church plant is you're kind of streaming at that point. You do want to invite people in, but you're also targeting your people. And that's kind of that kind of the backside of that front door streaming of sometimes your streaming doesn't necessarily need to be an attractional invitation. Sometimes it's just for your people, right? I mean, sob story, and I will cry. The first time we ever streamed, I had been against streaming because the church I grew up mixing audio at, we were broadcasting on local cable channels on satellite. So my standard was probably not here, but probably about here for that. And we needed to stream for a couple who could no longer attend church because the spouse was in the last several weeks of their life. So we bought one of these little red plastic live stream boxes, hooked it up to just a camera that was, guys, it was the gnarliest live stream I've ever done. I mean, the first live stream I ever did. And it's just one shot, board mix straight in. We streamed that for 3 weeks. A few weeks later, I get an email from our our discipleship pastor who had asked me to set up a live stream. The first time we streamed that was the last time that couple ever got to attend church together. And they got to do it, and she passed away the next week. So there's part of it of sometimes you don't need perfection. Sometimes you just want to engage people who have a desire and a hunger to hear scripture, to engage with the word, to be part of community.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing to forget when we're live streaming is on the other side of that lens there, as we're staring at it, there are people, real people with real lives who need to be engaged with. And they were able to worship. And that story hit home 10 years later when my mom was in end stage with Parkinson's. It was the same thing. My dad and my mom got to enjoy worship together at home in the last months of her life. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Blake, have you ever experienced where you have such a strong stance on something until you hear the real story of a real human on the other side of it? And you're like, oh no, I forgot about that part.
One of my favorite things about being an Enneagram 8 is you have a hard feeling or a hard stance on something until you're convinced otherwise. Then all of a sudden you have a hard stance on the opinion you just had against. So yes, I totally see that.
Yeah, you can never hold two things at the same time. You're just all in or all out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Steve, another way to interpret that story is the live stream was so bad, she died.
Oh my God.
God, that was too mean. I couldn't not do it.
You're going straight to hell, but I mean,
man, I'm never going to cry at that story again, Blake. Nope. I'm just going to be thinking about that comment every time now.
Amazing.
Oh. But to your point on church plants, I think it can be incredibly important to do it because I think that the people who are committed to launching your church are going to want to be able to see it and share that out. Mm-hmm. And again, it may not be the worship. It may just be one camera following the pastor and a head to height shot. And that's what you're going to stream. Do it. I mean, that's how people are going to find you, is that there's going to be something out there. Think of all the random stuff that you encounter on YouTube.
Yeah.
It becomes part of that algorithm.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, streaming to a different site, whether it be another campus or an overflow space or whatever. There were several pioneers in this movement, like North Point, Northlands Church. Dennis Choi was doing this out at, is it North Coast? I think they all start with North. Apparently, all the North churches started this. But it seems like Resi became kind of a game changer for that, to make it so much less complicated. And we often don't think about like, oh, that's a really great use of streaming. We're gonna set up a number campus. They're gonna have their own live worship. They're gonna get the message streamed. Like, is that somewhere where you guys, was that part of the vision of launching Resi? And is that where you guys really excel?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was that very problem that started Resi. I mean, Resi was not a web streaming company when it first started. In fact, Living as One was the original name. And it was a couple of guys at church up in Allen, Texas. And they were saying, hey, it costs us an obscene amounts of money to do this multi-site thing. Our church was $80,000 in streaming and DVR hardware alone per campus to do it. And it was ridiculous. So these mad scientists get together, they write this protocol, which we've come to call RSP, and they say, hey, we can do this. We can stream over the public internet. You don't need dark fiber or all the other expensive things that are part of that. And we can do it with a 5-minute delay, and we can stream it in such a way that you don't get all that pixelation and dropped frames and stuff that makes you, as well, we've all sat in church when something's gone wrong. We get distracted and then we're scrolling on our phone, checking emails after that. It prevented all of that. So those guys created really set the trend, I guess, for multi-site streaming in a way that churches could do it in a fiscally responsible way, but also equip churches without big budgets, but who are just growing astronomically to be able to plant churches. So that was really the core, and still remains the core of our business today of what we do.
And we still have some Living as One units in our warehouse. I do sense a little more Holy Spirit on those than the Resi version, just because, Living as One is such a, holy name.
You know what the problem with Living as One was? Is everybody thought it was a marriage conference. So it's like, what do we do with this whole marriage conference? In fact, I'm looking at your backdrop trying to find one of the old school ones back there somewhere.
I know. It very possibly could be.
Also, because just to fact check Toby, because Dennis Choi holds a special place in my heart. It was North Coast Church. That was that was the North we were looking for.
Great.
Yep.
All three Norths. All right.
I was going to guess Sea Coast, but that's on the other coast.
Yeah, that's true. Steve, let's talk about the future. Do you guys have brainstorm meetings at Resi where you're like, where is this all headed in the next decade? And, where do you guys see it going?
Don't worry. All our listeners have signed NDAs already from Resi.
Oh, so I can talk about everything in the pipeline and all the cool stuff?
We've all signed the NDA.
All your competitors are putting their fingers in their ears right now.
Yep.
I think there's a couple ways to look at the future. I think, we've seen some of it happen at this point. I mean, we're seeing 4K. Everybody wants to do 4K now. The cool kids are already starting to do 4K. A lot of them have just jumped from 720 straight to 4K because they invested all that money early. So I think we've got to wrestle with that, and we are. We've got a platform. If you want to stream 4K, you can. We're ready for those advantages. I think there's things like HDR too, where we all want that nice, really cool picture the way that sports programs are. So I think that's another thing. I think the future is continuing to focus on engagement. And I do think at some point we're going to have to wrestle with that same buzzword, that immersive feel to live stream at some point. Engagement's really cool because everybody that streamed YouTube knows if you're on YouTube and we want you to engage with content, we all say the same thing. Hey, click the link below in the description. So, they go down, they click, browser window opens, and what do you not do? You never come back to the YouTube video. You're coming back years later. So I think there's an element of how do we keep people engaged in the player, not running away from the content or not pulling away from the content. Running is a terrible word. And I think that's one way that we're focusing on. What are those tools? We got one that's QR click. That's really cool that we came out and that's continuing to grow, where if you put a QR code up there, you can click it and in the player, it pops up and you can fill out a form. If you're outside the church using it and you're doing, say, streaming baseball, you could actually pull up stats on the player with that. However you want to use it is a way that you can utilize that tool. I do think we're going to have to figure out at some point how AI plays into it. That's the big buzzword right now, is how to use AI tools in a worship environment for live streaming. What does that look like? Is it subtitles, which a bunch of us are already doing in the competitor world?
Don't do that. Don't do that. Do not do that.
You feel strongly about this, Blake. We just heard some really good disaster stories.
Don't say where.
And we'll
Anonymous.
be featuring them eventually, but where the AI subtitles were very, very wrong. But
really bad.
Technology is moving so fast that give it another 6 months and that will never happen again.
And if it does, you can come back and sue TobyWalters.com.
Perfect.
Well, I'm going to do the shameless plug and let you know that we've got 4-letter filters built into our AI translation. So that way pastor could drop the wrong word and it will not get translated onto a subtitle.
Ironically, the word that was used was 3 letters, but that is a tease for church. What is it? ChurchTech Anonymous. No,
ChurchTech Confessionals.
ChurchTech Confessionals.
Yeah. Another one though was like the pastor said something and he didn't know what he said. But it wasn't the AI changing, like he said it.
It was as bad as something we've ever said, maybe, which is really funny.
Well, it's kind of like I think this was actually a fellowship. Like somebody was using very early on when the vernacular of
You're talking about my fellowship, just to clarify. Okay.
Yes, and Netflix and chill became kind of a buzz phrase. He used it in a sermon, not knowing that it was alluding to inappropriate things.
Was that Lloyd or Rob?
It might have been Fellowship Nashville, like when they launched that campus. But
that's incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So back to AI. Sorry, Steve.
No, it's all good. I that's a new one to me. I like that one. So the question is how do we utilize AI, but not make it feel impersonal? Like we could write an AI chatbot to engage with chats and say, hey, we're praying for you, but we all can recognize an AI chatbot at some point. So there's probably ways that we don't want to utilize AI because, again, we want to see real people on the other side of the lens.
Yeah.
Although it occurs to me now that it'd be great to see an AI Toby and Blake on the other end one of these one day. I think that'd be hilarious.
Yep.
But how do we use that to increase engagement without losing a personal touch? And some of that may actually translate more into the on-demand space than in the live space of how do we create and utilize AI to create better content that we can pull out of our live streams to use in other spaces. So I think there's a lot there. Think about tags. How many times do you get a video because it's been tagged properly? Maybe we're creating tags automatically into the messages. So when it hits on demand, now we see people can search for it. So I think there's a lot of tools and ways that we can utilize AI without forgetting about the people watching.
Yeah. I am just having a vision of a future Babylon Bee article about, worshiper suddenly realize that it's an AI chatbot that's praying for them.
I just hate that. I hope AI can help fulfill a lot of other stuff. So we have free time for the person to be real in the chat.
But can AI pray for you?
No.
So your prayer goes up, like God sees everything.
Toby, that is a horrible. Our producer in the background right now has a horrified look on her face. I'd also like to go back to the QR codes. You know how you can see a player's stats? I'd love to see Toby's stats for this podcast. How many horrible jokes, things we've had to cut, bad transitions. I mean, it's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, I was thinking, just like you said of the baseball player, like the pastor's stats. I don't know what that means. Like, what's his sin total for the day?
That would be a really funny Easter egg, actually.
Yeah.
I will say that our pastor, I forget what passage it was, but he was trying to see how many times he could say naked on the message.
Naked?
Because I think it was a naked prophet or something from the Old Testament.
And
so he just took the opportunity. I mean, I think we counted 28 times he had to say it.
All right.
It was great.
And youth ministry, the classic that was used in my time was a holy spit, because Jesus spit on the ground and he healed the blind guy.
Yeah.
And I like my youth pastor, he said it as many times as he could, that message, and we were all just like,
good for him. It's fun to use the scriptures to make inappropriate jokes.
No, Toby, that's only you.
Speaking of inappropriate jokes, no, actually, Steve, I wanted to harp on this idea of 4K, and it's like technology moves so fast. So you got 4K. I've heard 8K is a thing now. You have cameras that say they're 12K. I don't even know what that means. But then you have...
Let's just start selling our old stuff and call it 16K.
You have church, I'll give a shout out to Fellowship Church in Grapevine, so Ed Young Jr., where they're still using HD cameras from 2002, and they're still doing amazing things. And then you have churches saying, we're 4K. Wait a second. No, your cameras just are 4K enabled, but you're not actually doing anything in 4K. So talk to us about the reality of actually going to 4K. How many things actually have to be 4K from start to finish to actually experience it?
Yeah, I think 4K is appropriate in certain circumstances. If you're building a new building, I think it's easy to say, hey, we're just going to invest in 4K. The beautiful thing about now is, well, let's take the streaming side out of it. We'll come back to it. With 4K, everything is licensable. I mean, Blackmagic, standard 4K, right? We don't like the Blackmagic word, but hey, that's all. I'm joking. That's all 4K ready. Sony cameras, they're kind of base 4K, and they may just output HD, but they can be upgraded to it. Most RAW switchers may start out 1080 now, but they are software licensable up. So I think as churches are investigating or they're doing rehabs, refurbs, investing in the infrastructure to do 4K is wise. Even though you may not turn it on day one and you may just have to buy the licenses later, I think it is appropriate because I think it is becoming a new standard. I reframe the conversation as what do you want your people to see? 4K to me makes sense for multi-site churches because you've got this 25-foot LED wall or projection screen, and in HD it looks great. We've known nothing but that for years. But if it's 4K, now you're creating a more engaging image that 500 people in a room across town are watching.
Yeah.
So 4K really makes sense to me there. I think, because every TV in America now can take 4K and stream 4K. If you're doing 4K there, hey, let's start doing 4K to the TV. Do you need to drop everything you're doing right now and go buy 4K everything? No, I don't think you can. I think it's as you're making those upgrades, I think it's smart to do. because at some point we're going to jump to, like you say, 50K, and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. But you're right. Or just skip generations. Like there's a church, there's a couple of rather large churches with huge followings. They're still streaming in 720. And they're doing all their multi-site in 720. There's absolutely zero wrong with that. Yeah. They'll probably jump to 4K when they're ready to spend the money to upgrade next.
Yeah, it's kind of a principle. If you invest well in, quality technology, you very well might be able to skip a generation. And that does end up saving a lot of money. Like, I was hoping I had made that decision with my brand director, but I invested
you're going to get to skip all the way to the end because I'm not leaving. This also reminds me of a takeaway from the executive pastor series we did, where the guy was like, I've got this. The executive pastor was talking to a friend who was like, I've got the second best rig in all of America behind elevation. And he was like, why? Like, do you need that? 90% is an A, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think invest wisely in your infrastructure, plan for the future so you're set up for it. So when you have to do it, you do it. There's a giant multi-site church where one of their experienced pastors went to a few of their campuses, and he made the statement, we need to go 4K for multi-site. That's a lot of campuses to upgrade over more than a few years, right? It's going to take a while to do that, but they reached the point with what we consume on a daily basis is not what we're able to see in church. And if we want to keep people engaged and immersed in the message, we don't need to compete with it, but we need to present something that people want to watch and engage with.
Yeah.
I think a big piece of that. I don't think 4K is the 3D TV of 20 years ago. Remember when every flat screen TV came with the 3D glasses? I don't think 4K is that. I think we're kind of past that, but I think 4K is going to be here for a while.
Yeah. And you kind of, made a good point in there that understand the vision of why. Ask the question why. And then also understand the cost. Just because your cameras say 4K on the side doesn't, almost guaranteed you're not streaming in 4K. Unlocking all those licenses, making sure, from point A to point B, it's all in 4K. That's an incredible expenditure, especially when you're multiplying across several campuses.
Yeah. And I think this is shamelessly, I'll plug integrator partnerships. This is where integrators help. Because if you walk up to any reputable integrator and say, hey, this is our budget. I want to make sure that I'm not wasting money because 5 years from now, I'm going to go to 4K. So what do I need to do now to be ready for that 5 years from now?
Yeah.
And that integrator is going to help you build that plan and be wise. Because in the end, we're all stewarding money, right? We don't want to throw it down the drain. I've seen plenty of churches buy and then buy again a few years later because they bought poorly.
Yeah.
I'd love to see churches not do that by thinking a few steps down the road.
Yeah.
Speaking of buying poorly, we did have a question added to our doc late after we sent it to you, Steve. Can you give us your 3 favorite integrators and your 3 integrators you hate the most that you'd never work with? That's a joke. That'd be a disaster, though, if he told us that, Toby.
It might not be. It might be really funny, but usually disaster stories are pretty funny, too.
Which, we do think that's probably NSFW. Or wait, NSFW means it's not safe. So SFW, so safe for work. Give us a disaster story, Steve. Once everything went wrong, how you addressed it, how you fixed it, how you handled it with leadership afterwards, or maybe you almost went wrong but just saved it.
Well, I'm not going to mention the integrator, but I am going to say that the integrator mixes up with the electrician, and the integrator is not actually integrating anymore. They're just doing live sound. So this is a NSFW made SFW. So it was either Christmas or an Easter, and we were getting ready. We had like 5 services that we're doing. We're getting the post message song at the on the second service. PA completely dies, just gone. Like, band still has in-ears, so they don't know anything's wrong. And we're trying to figure out what happened. Well, it turns out the integrator, when they met with the electrician, wired up all the PA on a single circuit when it should be spread across 3 circuits.
Whoops.
So the breaker kept tripping regularly. So don't do this. We went back there, and I got our facilities guy.
on this podcast.
I grabbed the facilities guy, and to get through the last 2 songs, I handed him a 2x4 and I held the breaker in the on position for the last 2 songs. And I told him, if I stop talking, hit me. And we made it. And then we had an electrician show up, and we had 30 minutes, member of our church, and we rewired everything in that 30 minutes so we could get through the next service, no problem. But for 10 minutes, I'm holding a breaker, just praying. So yeah, that was a great disaster story. So it's
Blake,
don't tell my wife.
I'm going to try that with you. I'm going to be like, here, hold this breaker with a steel bar.
So is the 2x4 so that, if the electricity hits Steve, he's going to be like stuck to the breaker box. And so if someone pushed him out of it, they'd get caught in the electrical format.
No, a
so
2x4 does not conduct electricity.
That's what I'm saying. So it was, that guy was going to have to hit Steve with the 2x4.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were holding
if
the
I couldn't
breaker.
let go, if the breaker arced and got me, it was so that I wouldn't die.
I thought you were using the 2x4 to keep the breaker on. That probably would have been a smarter move.
That probably would have been a smarter move, but it wasn't the right size, and we didn't have a saw. So yeah, it was great.
I got to tell you, Toby, that's way too much commitment to his job. I mean,
yeah. Church techs legit risks their life to make sure that Sundays happen.
When church techs go through the decision tree of what job they're going to have, it's like SWAT team, police, or church tech. That's they were really close to SWAT. That's the takeaway I'm going to have for this episode, is that they're very committed people. Steve, if you were going to give us a tech takeaway though yourself, what would you say to a room full of production people? Oh, we got him. We stumped him.
No, because there's probably a billion things I could say and not enough time. I would say, I'll make it personal from a tech takeaway. I love the people that were my volunteers. They are some of the best people in the world. They literally will do anything for you if you ask them. I also really like the gear. So I got stuck in the middle, and I was always pulled more towards the gear. Mainly because we just had to fix stuff as a church tech, and it makes it really easy to forget the people. And I would say those people are going to be more important to invest in, not just from hey, can you come and do something? Like, we can teach people to solder. We can have volunteers come in and rehang lights. We can do all kinds of scenic design work and have them come in. And that's great. They're going to keep coming and doing it for you. But investing in them personally, celebrating life milestones, mourning them with them when they're not, that is going to create lifelong connections, and is going to be ministering to people and be more fulfilling in the long term than anything we do on a Sunday morning. And here's why. What we do on a Sunday morning becomes episodic. It's just another Sunday, and we forget about the people that we're working with and doing things with. Where if we start focusing on the people and replicating ourselves in people and making leaders of people in our production departments, that is going to be more rewarding and more pastoral and more about what the church is really supposed to be about, is connecting, building into people, caring about them, supporting them, teaching them and living life with them, than making the biggest, best production we can on Sunday morning. And I think as production people, if we can focus on that, if we can see the people on the other side of the lens, see the people, and it could just be as simple as putting a note down on Sunday that's got a personal thank you for your people. See your people and make that your focus. The tech stuff's going to sort itself out because those people are going to help you with it.
Yeah. Blake, do you ever get frustrated that, our guests constantly go back to care for your people? And we're like, we've heard this, but maybe that's because it's actually the most important part.
Yeah, I just cut it every time they do that.
Yeah, I get it.
I only like to hear advice once.
I know. Here at Church Gear, it's all about the gear and none about the people, right?
Well, that's the gear part.
That's why I hired Brian to care for the people.
Toby had to delegate out his caring of people because he doesn't have empathy.
It's just self-awareness.
Know your strengths.
Yes, exactly.
That's why you got Blake, right?
I'm just his entertainment.
Yeah.
The company dog.
Yeah.
Which Toby hates dogs. It's ironic.
Just my dog. And my company dog.
Well, this company dog would like to bark off of this pod. Steve, thanks for joining us, man. What do you want to plug? What would you like to point people towards?
Hey, man, I would say I'll do a couple plugs. I say, hey, churches, as you're looking at stuff, go find your integrators. We as a company can help support you, and we've got teams that are going to walk with you every step of the way. If you need live streaming, whether it's multi-site, in person, talking engagement, we're going to support you all the time. Those integrators are going to help you build that stream into what you want it to be. So if you come and say, hey, I want to look and feel like this, go and find them. And I guarantee you there's one near you. If you can't find one, reach out to us at Resi. They'll connect you immediately with me. They'll give you my cell phone number because, surprise, surprise, church production people have bad boundaries, and I'm one of them. So please hit them up. And then, I will say this about Resi. We were birthed out of a church. A bunch of guys at a church decided, hey, we're going to create this live stream company. There's not a person on staff who doesn't care about churches that's not going to want to spend time with you. So please reach out to us if you have questions. We're always willing to jump in and have a conversation. Even if you don't stream with Resi, we're here as a resource for you, and we want to see y'all succeed.
And now it's time for a ChurchTech Confessional, where church production people confess the worst thing they've ever done in church production. Here's one now.
Time I borrowed the church van for my own personal use without asking the pastor. When I was on my way back, I forgot to undo the emergency brake, so drove for an hour and a half with the emergency brake engaged and wondering why the brake smelled terrible. I never confessed to it before, and the church van rattled the entire rest of its life.
Hey, do you have your own ChurchTech Confessional that's, 45 seconds to 2 minutes? Send it to blake@churchgear.com, and you might just hear it on the podcast.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope to see you back next week for more absurd stories, tech takeaways, and overall buffoonery here at the Church Gear Studios.
Blake, is it also true that it could be any time of the day that you get pulled over on this podcast for PUIing?
Toby, my answer to that is the same answer I have for anytime you ask me anything. Yes. No. Maybe?
Yeah. What is even in that water bottle? I mean, maybe you should share it with the world.
Yes, it is a combination. No, we said we weren't going to bleep stuff as much anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So.
How about it's Taylor Swift and cats in there somehow?
Oh, gosh. Distilled down. We blended Taylor Swift. We put her in the wood chipper.
That could be your new signature drink, Taylor and cats.
Oh, my gosh. Actually, I'm having a listening party when her new album comes out.
Of course you are.
Make a Taylor Swift cocktail.
Are your cats invited?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Now, you know who else is invited? Is all the church production people to listen to this episode. So if they heard this, they should send it to someone and say what, Toby?
If you happen to know Taylor Swift or have a cat, you should listen to this episode. And if you don't, listen anyways.